Welcome to the Pawsome Companion, where pets are part of our family. I'm your host, Johanna Herrera, the founder of Coco and Bondi. I'm very excited to interview experts and pet owners to share their stories and insights so you can use them to take care of your babies. Do you, let's say you get a patient, you have a few consultations with the patient, that person, you understand their needs and goals and what the person needs, you go pick the dog, train the dog for a few months, I would say, or how long do you train it?
So there's probably two things happening in parallel. We've got our dogs going through our puppy program and coming in for formal training. And we have wonderful trainers and instructors that are working with those dogs every day. So it's kind of like school, or like, let's say it's university. The dogs get dropped to us in the morning, picked up in the evening, and during the day they learn and they train. And while we've got those dogs learning and training, we've also got clients coming through to our program, and we are assessing their needs. And once they're on our wait list, we will work with that client, ideally fortnightly every 3 weeks. And that often starts off in our headquarters at Gilles Plains. And what we're really wanting to do is form trust in a relationship with that person. So once you have that, you can teach and you can share knowledge and you can start to grow that independence. So we start that high engagement. And while we're doing that, we're working different dogs with that person. And we are looking at what their needs are, starting to go out into areas that may have more pressure and, within their comfort zone still, and really starting to see, okay, well, what kind of dog is going to be the best one for this person? And that's how we're then able to match the dog to the individual. So we look at a lot of different aspects. And
this is amazing.
Once we match the dog, there's something we call a class. So that's really a 2-week intensive training session, and it's really like the 101 of your dog, and we will really hone in on the requirements of that person, like is travel, airport, is bus transport, what's their local area, and we'll just work with that individual on a one-on-one basis to teach them everything about their dog. So when they qualify together, they've got such a wonderful level of experience and support that they can just hit that level of independence together.
Amazing.
And start off.
So how long, like if you acquire this, let's say, post-traumatic situation after you have been working during those difficult works that the patient used to do, when the people get diagnosed and they got a dog, for how long they have to have the dog? Is there any number of years, or they have to have the guide dog forever? What are the recommendations in that?
If a client gets referred to us for an assistance dog, that assistance dog is going to be assisting them until the dog retires, unless there's a huge change in circumstance, Okay. But that dog will be with that individual working ideally for the next 8 years. Okay. And once they do start working together, we don't just say, here's your dog, off you go. We have a level of support. So we will see that client over that 8-year journey at certain intervals. And if they need extra support, we're there to support at any time. So it is really a supported journey for the team that we, have the privilege of seeing for an 8-year journey, realistically.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. So how many patients at the moment do you have?
We've got about around 60 dogs are in a working capacity. Okay. There are, there's such a need for this line of work and this level of support for veterans with PTSD. So absolutely, we are very lucky to be providing this. The See Differently Canine program, a thing that sets our program apart is we're an ADI accredited program. So ADI is Assistance Dogs International. And what that is really the worldwide organisation that oversees assistance dogs around the world and really sets the standards for the training of the puppies, the dogs, the clients, and the standard of care that those people receive for the journey of their working life with their dog. And what that means is obviously that the clients can jump on a plane and go visit family interstate with their dog, and they can do all those things. The dogs do have that public access right because we've got that level of accreditation. So, we're a beautifully positioned program to support clients in this space.
That's great.
We just want to get more and more dogs.
Yeah. So how like what would be like? I know that you were talking about capacity 60 dogs.
Yeah.
But is there any aim, for example, this year to get to a certain number of clients and dogs?
We would love to just increase the amount of dogs that we can put out and help as many people as we can. You know, you are obviously limited by resources and capacity and how many staff you have that can get these dogs out as well. So that's something, you know, ideally we'd love to grow this program and help as many people as we can.
Yeah. You were mentioning that like out of the cameras, because we haven't said that this here, but you mentioned that you need like volunteers to be part. So how does it work, and what a volunteer will require to be part of this program if wants to get involved with See Differently?
Look, See Differently, we couldn't survive or do that guide dog program or canine program without volunteers. So we have got over 180 volunteers that help us in our guide and assistance dogs section. Our puppies are raised with volunteers. So our whelps, our little litters of puppies are born in volunteer homes. At 8 weeks, they go out with puppy educators. And those puppy educators, they are really the foundation of the puppy's learning. So for that first 12 months, that pup will go to school run, Saturday sport, drop-offs, pickups, work, and really learn the normality and hustle and bustle of life, let's say, and get exposed to all the different range of things.
Yeah.
They are involved in regular puppy classes with our staff. So it's guided. Another aspect that is the really rewarding one for me as well is the client aspect. You know, we're let into people's lives, and we work with clients that are Vietnam vets. We work with clients that have, you know, served in more recent conflicts, and we get to know their experiences. They entrust us with that. Yeah. And we can use this beautiful dog as the bridge to get that person back to independence, which is a pretty special thing to be part of. So yeah, it's a beautiful industry to get into. Yeah.
And I feel like there is like for those people who wants to be veterinarians or things like that, this will be like a great start if they want to volunteer and be part of the See Differently family as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it is. It's a wonderful, wonderful organisation.
So is there any recommendations you will leave for veterans that probably they are feeling these symptoms? They are not quite sure if they should like go and see like a doctor and get like support. Is there anything you can say to them? If we have listeners who are like watching this episode?
I think, you know, our clients we work with, they do have a wonderful specialist team around them. And it's important to talk to that team, you know, about symptoms. And that team will be very, you know, very well educated in the role of assistance dogs and the difference they can make. And if that is something that clients are interested in, I think that's definitely a conversation to have. And departments of Veterans Affairs who do fund our program, they do have information about it's called the Psychiatric Assistance Dog Program. And there is more information that can be read on their website as well. Or feel free to call us and we can always give more information.
That's amazing. One last question. So regarding the dogs, I know that guide dogs, you cannot touch them while they are on a walk.
Yes.
How does it work with these assistance dogs? Which is completely different.
It's a very good question. So assistance dogs, you know, guide dog is an assistance dog. This is a different kind of assistance dog.
Okay.
But
and those were different sort of jackets, right?
Different jackets, absolutely. Guide dogs wear a harness. Artie, you'll see he's got his beautiful black jacket on here.
Yes.
And that black jacket, you know, we have our Assistance Dog International logo on it. That is public access, this jacket.
Okay.
So he can go into the shops with this and, you know, obviously means that he is able to be in there. But in terms of assistance dogs, you know, seeing assistance dogs in public settings, it is the same rules realistically in terms of touching a dog, because these dogs, when they're out, they're in a working capacity. And they are working to help to, you know, keep someone in that environment and to keep that person feeling comfortable. One of the wonderful aspects with op canine dogs is they are a catalyst for social interaction. You know, you walk into a shop with one of these dogs or you walk anywhere and everyone smiles. And that's that beautiful feet, the Labrador, Golden Retriever face and those eyes. They make you smile. And a lot of the clients we work with are really deprived of social interaction. So walking into the shops with one of these dogs, people will smile. And then they'll ask about your dog and you'll get that beautiful conversation that you may not normally have. The important thing is always to ask before patting a dog. Some clients might say, yeah, look, you're welcome to pat my dog, but first I'm going to put him into a sit, or I'm going to ask him to shake. So they will guide members of the public how to pat their dog appropriately. But in many cases, they will likely say, look, we're working. Sorry, not today.
Yeah.
So same thing applies in terms of touching the dogs. But people can always ask and they'd be guided by the client.
Yeah, because this has been one of the questions for our listeners of how to obviously behave in front of assistant dogs.
It's a good question.
It's a good question to obviously keep in mind. Before, I didn't know. After we had the interview with the person from Guide Dogs last time, I wasn't aware. I wanted to have an explanation of why you could not like grab a dog while he was like working, and it's also feel the dog anxious because he's trying to do a job, trying to concentrate. Because they love patting and all of that while they are not on the jacket.
Yep.
So it's completely different.
Yeah, that's right. So no, it is a working dog, it is. And it is something we are always wanting to do, advocate and educate members of the public about, if you see a working dog, especially in this op canine capacity, while we do love the social interaction for the client, people do need to ask and they'll be guided the right way.
Yeah. So we were talking about volunteering and how can people get in contact with differently and probably learn about the different programs and identifying which sort of programs they want to be involved as volunteers or in which other ways people can volunteer. So we finalized
the number of animals that we can take in that are surrendered, because with the inspectorate and the rescue team, they're bringing in a lot of animals and we have to prioritise the care of those animals. So we don't always have the capacity to accept a surrendered animal. It's not always easy for us to. And we also have contracts with some councils where we provide the care and rehoming service for the stray dogs and cats in their areas. So we have to prioritise our resources in terms of both the accommodation space and the personnel to provide the care for those animals, and then if we can, we'll take in surrendered animals. But I would add though, if it's an emergency situation,
of course,
we will do our utmost to try to take that animal in or find an alternate rescue organisation that can help us.
Do you have a number of animals that you bring a month, for example, from those situations?
Those sources, yeah. So at any one time, well, at the moment at our animal care centre, we've got about 240 animals, but in care in total across the state, we've got about 580. So we're fluctuating between about 580 to 650 animals at the moment in care across the entire state. So some of them might be in our animal care centre at O'Halloran Hill. A few of them might be in our regional centre at Whyalla, only just a handful. It's not a very big place, but a lot of them, about half of our animals, are in foster care. So that's where these are people who have volunteered to care for an animal, and we provide we cover all the costs. So we cover all the costs of all the food, all the veterinary care, provide all the advice, and with these people, they're providing a loving home, which is absolutely fantastic, because it's much better for an animal to be in a really good foster home, even if it's only a temporary home, than it is for them to be in a shelter environment.
So what are the requirements that you ask to someone who wants to foster a dog or a cat? Is there any particular things that you are looking for from a person or a house?
Yeah. So it really does depend on what they're looking to foster, what kind of animal. So if it's a dog, then they would need to have a well-fenced yard.
Okay.
If it's a big dog who's known to be a bit of a jumper, a bit of an escape artist, then those fences might need to be quite high. They need to have time, really. I suppose this is where people need to sort of think of their own lifestyles and think, well, do I have the time to invest in this dog? Because there's no point if they're going to take a dog that is needing a bit of one-on-one attention. Maybe the dog is recovering from surgery, or maybe the dog is recovering from a situation of neglect, and it's needing that kind of investment of time to recover trust. So you need to be able to have that time to spend with the dog, invest in maybe some force-free training, which is the kind of training that we recommend, where you reward the good behaviour and you ignore the bad behaviour. That's, putting it very simply, that's the kind of training that we support. If it's a cat, an ability to contain the cat so that it doesn't go wandering around the neighbourhood. And this can be a bit tricky for people, but a lot of people have come up with really terrific ideas where they've got a cat door and it leads to an enclosed outdoor space, so the cat's getting outdoors a bit. Or maybe you've got a nice sunroom, as long as the cat's able to get enough space to play and to get a bit of sun. And we do support trying to contain your cat to your property, particularly at night, because that's when they're most at risk if they're wandering around at night. So in answer, that's a long answer, but in answer to it, a lot of people are suitable as foster carers, and I'd say the best thing to do is to go online and fill in the form. Just register interest. That doesn't lock you into anything. And when you register your interest, then you can have a look at all the animals that are available to foster, because the animals that you look at online are the ones available to adopt. Some of them are also available to foster. So because we're so keen to get them into homes, so a lot of our dogs in particular are available to foster as well. But when you go register as a foster carer, you see a lot more animals. You might be seeing, for example, animals that are the subject of an ongoing investigation or an ongoing case that's before the courts. And so they're what we call prosecution hold animals, and they also go into foster care.
Regarding to this fostering dogs, so what you do is, like, when people foster those dogs, do they have a requirement to have them for a specific period of time, or they have to have them until someone adopts them, or how does it work with the lead time?
There's no time restrictions. So if you're able to provide respite for a week, or you're able to provide it for several months, we are very grateful for that. It's just good for our dogs in particular to get out into a home, because sometimes when they're in that shelter environment, their behaviour can deteriorate because they're just not getting that one-on-one attention that they need. No matter how good the care is that we provide, it's still institutionalised care. It's never as good as a loving home. So we're really flexible, and people might foster a dog and then they might go on holidays and they can't take the dog. So they'll bring the dog back, and if the dog's still not available to adopt, or we're having to hold on to it for some other reason, then they might come back from holidays and still want the dog, and we'll send the dog back to them. So, we're very, very flexible. We want to make it work, because when we do, that's the best thing for the animals.
Yeah, and I heard that there are so many people that foster dogs and they ended up adopting them.
That's right. That's a lovely outcome, because even if you foster an animal and it's not yet available to adopt, eventually it might become available. It might be that the court case, for example, finalises and those animals are forfeited to us by the court. And so those animals are then available to adopt. And a lot of animals that are fostered become what we call foster fails. Very happy outcome for everyone when that happens.
Yeah, amazing. So do you have any funny story about, like, any sort of, like, people like having their pets or those dogs in their houses, fostering and then adopting them?
I can certainly remember one case where the previous owner was being prosecuted for some quite serious neglect of a dog, and we were really, really hoping that the court would not allow this individual to get this dog back. It's obviously we don't have power over what the court decides. And I'll never forget when that owner was told that this dog had been relinquished to us and that she could therefore adopt it, and she burst into tears. She was just sobbing. She couldn't believe it because she was so attached to this dog. So, it is a bit of an emotional journey, often fostering an animal, because with those cases, there's not necessarily a guarantee that the animal would be available to adopt. But in most cases where an animal is fostered, almost all of them, that animal will eventually be available to adopt.
That's amazing. And I imagine people, some of them, when they are never had like a pet, they want to foster to make sure that they are aware and of all the things that are involved of taking care of an animal as well.
Yes, it's a really good way to give pet ownership a trial run, is to foster an animal.
Yeah.
Because, well, first of all, you're not forking out any money for that animal's care, so you can get a sense of what's going to be involved in actually financially looking after that animal. And also you've got all of the experts in our organisation on tap to ask questions, so you can learn about, well, what does it take to keep a dog, a cat, a rabbit, a guinea pig, all these animals are available to foster occasionally. So what does it take to keep those animals happy and healthy? The happiness side of things is what people don't always understand. You can keep animals healthy, but not necessarily happy. And by that, I mean, it's about enrichment. It's about, if we don't sit a child in a barren room, leave it there all day and think that child's had a good day. We give that child toys, we give that child playtime, we take that child out and we give them a world. And there are similarities. These are sentient beings, intelligent creatures, and they every bit need that kind of stimulation. Otherwise, it's a very boring, lonely, isolated life. And too many animals do live like that.
Yeah, and there are so many animals that behave like crying or they damage things in the house is because they are not stimulated enough.
That's right, they're bored. They're just bored.
People think like, oh, what I'm gonna do with this animal if it's behaving in this way, but it's not. It's actually happening because they don't give them the attention and
that's right.
The walks, the toys, the things that they should keep giving them.
Absolutely. I mean, puppies are particularly destructive.
Yeah.
And you might give them toys, but they still will chew up your best boots. I mean, that's just a puppy being a puppy, and you can't ever be angry at them. It's like, to be angry at an animal that does that is like being angry at a toddler. They're just young and they don't understand, and they need stimulation. They need toys. They need things to chew on, and they need to be with us. And I think that's a really big thing, is dogs in particular just want our company. So where we can give that to them, it makes for a much happier dog and a much less destructive dog as well.
Yeah, that's totally true. I see the same thing with my dog. Like, he's super active, but when I take him for walks, when I give him like toys or things to keep him entertained, he just get excited and he just relax. And even that he keeps like very excited because he's a puppy, but he just, like he understands that, okay, he needs to, relax a little bit, and he does it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Things have really changed. A lot of people have understood this. I mean, when I was growing up, you had a dog, you shoved it in the backyard.
Exactly.
It had its water, it had its shelter. There's the dog. We've got the family, we've got the kids, now we've got the dog in the backyard. We're set, that's done. And that's just not how it should be, and not how it is most of the time now. I mean, our animals are very much part of our families now. They're inside with us, they're on the couch with us, they're on beds with us sometimes. I mean, every household's different. Or they're lying in their bed next to our couch or next to our bed, and they're with us, and they're going on holidays with us. So they're much more integrated in our lives, and that's much better for them. They are much happier animals when that happens.
And if they're older than 5, we wouldn't normally put him out to work because it does decrease the amount of time of the partnership, and it can be very traumatic to retire your dog. And so we feel that generally about 5 years old is the right time, but there's no rule for that. It's just depending on the circumstances.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Generally they'll go out at 2 years old, and most handlers want their dogs to be young so they get a good amount of time to work the dog, because even 8 years is very short, to have to retire, and retirement is a very traumatic time.
Yeah. And for the dog as well, because they have to leave the owners.
Absolutely. Look, the good thing is, one of the beauties of Labradors is that they are fairly good at moving on. I know that handlers, sometimes it's incredible how well they do, considering they've lived in the same home for 8 years. They can be quite good at moving on and loving someone else. They have a lot of love, Labradors.
Yeah.
So they'll see, for example, we have this beautiful graduation ceremony once a year where we celebrate all of the teams that we have, trained over the year.
Yeah.
And in the room, there will be the people that had them when they were puppies with their mother, and the people that volunteer that they maybe have not seen for years, maybe 2 years. And the moment that they see them, they still remember how much they love them. So they can love their people that had them when they were puppies in the nest, the volunteers, their handler, and then in future life, they will also love someone else. Yeah.
But normally people that are the handler, can they take the dog after they retire?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and most of them will.
But if they still need a guide dog,
they
can
sometimes
will
have both. Yes.
Ah.
It depends on their particular circumstances. So once a dog retires, it becomes the responsibility of the handler, whoever that is, of the new owner. And so it depends, you know, financially, is that possible? Do they have the right environment for the dog? So, for example, if the handler gets a new guide dog and they're going to be going to work for 8 hours a day, it is not feasible to leave the retired dog at home for that amount of time. They're just not used to that.
Yeah.
So in that case, that's when we'll normally find another home. And it's very hard. The handlers are generally very selfless and they will do what's best for their dog. So if they go, I would love to keep Maxie, but I can't because I can't look after him to the level that he deserves.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I'm going to let him go. And generally it will be someone they know, like a family or friend, or it will be, a volunteer or a member of the public. But they'll try and keep that contact up. And the Labradors do great. Like the dogs do great. They, as long as they've got love and a warm bed and food, they tend to really, do quite well and thrive.
Yeah, I reckon it's like probably the retirement of stop seeing the person that has been with them for 8 years.
Yes, I know.
Something that is probably
it's a very unique set of circumstances. And look, we've also had people that have their old dog and their new dog, and that can be a lovely partnership as well. And the old dog gets a bit of a new lease of life with the younger, sort of more exciting, exuberant dog. But it can be a little bit of a challenge because when the handler gets their harness out to go for a walk, the old dog says, oh, here I am, I'll put my harness on. But they're sort of at
You're
that
not
age.
working anymore.
Yeah, and they just want to go to the bus stop and back. They're like, okay, that's enough for me. You know, I'm tired. so yeah, it's a challenging, interesting time for them.
So I have a question for you. What is the thing that you love the most of your work?
Yeah, I actually started because I love the dogs so much, but I think what's kept me here has been, just seeing the good that they do, but the handlers, you know, and how wonderful it is to see them thrive with their dog and the difference a guide dog makes to their life. And that's a fantastic part of the job and something that, is very special. And you do feel like you are helping people, which is a lovely thing to have in your job. And on top of that as well, you know, I'm out and about every day. I don't have to sit behind the desk, and that's really quite good. Yeah. And I get to hang out with these guys every day. So
you normally you have to go to different houses to keep training the handlers?
Yeah. So when you're doing dog training, you would tend to get your dogs and take them out. You normally have multiple dogs. So you'll take a few dogs out training and you'll go to different locations and do different tasks. So it will be going on the bus, or it might be go to the city, or it might just be do a walk around the block and make sure the dog is able to work and guide around dogs and smells and stop at ramps and curbs and all that sort of stuff. And that's the sort of training component of it. And then we have our handlers and, you know, the ongoing care that we provide. So we do the client training, but then after that, we also keep up with all of our handlers and we see them at least once a year. But in the first year that they have their dog, we see them quite a few times to keep up the training and make sure that they are safe and that they have everything they need. And so it's a great thing for the handlers. If they've got any problems with their dog, they know that you're at the end of the phone and they can call you up and say, oh, you know, I don't know why, but we're having this little issue here, and we'll go out and help them fix it.
And sometimes it's about, the support that the dog does to the person, but also the happiness and joy that a dog brings to their lives.
Completely. Yeah.
You make it a significant change. And
it does. And, you know, although the dogs are there to help with guiding, there's no denying that they also help with mental health and they help people feel more confident. And so there is an element of the dog that just makes you want to go out for a walk, which is such a powerful thing. Whereas, you know, the long cane, which is what they generally will mobilize with, you can get out and you're safe and you can keep yourself safe with that most of the time. But with the dog, you want to go out, you want to go and do stuff, and you feel like you've got someone there that's
your friend as
that's
well.
Your friend, and we talk about them being a partnership, you know, because you're out there together.
And if things go well, you celebrate together. And if things don't go so well, then you're there for each other, you know, and that's really what the dog does for them. And it's, I think, one of those, it's not what the dog is there for, but it provides that extra thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And dogs are very good at feeling,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
their owners.
Yeah, absolutely. They're so
feelings.
emotionally connected. 100%. Yes. And I think that's a very underrated part of the guide dog. We talk a lot about what they do, how they guide, and that's fantastic, and they're so good at it. But I think one of the most beautiful parts of the partnership is the emotional connection and the support, and they keep their handlers motivated to get out and do stuff, which can be hard.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's very important.
Yeah, it is. It's super important. Yes.
Thank you, Daisy, for being here
No worries.
at the Pawsome
Thanks for having
Companion. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Pawsome Companion. If you have any further questions for our experts, feel free to leave them in the show notes or reach out to me directly. And if you are a pet expert who would love to contribute to this podcast, we will be thrilled to hear from you. Don't forget to follow us, and if you enjoyed today's episode, we will really appreciate a 5-star review. Thanks again, and we will see you at the next episode.